Welcome to the Bad Girls on Business, the podcast that makes business more fun so you want to do more of it. Here are your hostesses with the mostesses, Jenny Bellinger, Virginia Muskies, and Michelle Nedelec.
Hey, welcome back to another episode of the Bad Girls on Business podcast. We are the only podcast in the industry that is safe, sane, and consensual. We'll be as nice or naughty as kinky as our guests require, and we'll even give them a safe word in case things get out of hand. It's meatloaf, because we would do anything for business, but we won't do that. I'm Virginia Muskies, the referral diva, and I am one of your hostesses with the mostesses today, and I am here with your mistress in business, Michelle.
I'm Michelle Nedelec, your mistress in business, helping you to get it up and keep it up. And of course, we're talking about revenue and profit. And we are missing our most delightful Jenny B because she has been handpicked to do some awesomeness. So you get us here.
Yeah, we'll muddle it. We'll muddle through. We
haven't even had a chance to introduce me, but I have the most epic interruption. Wine has arrived. So give me
wine has arrived.
Yes,
all right.
And I'll be right back with you.
Great. So you know what? I'll just go ahead and introduce Monica while she goes and accepts the wine delivery on behalf of her friend. So, Michelle, I'm really excited about this because I met Monica Laurence at the Generous Entrepreneurs in Media networking event that Jason Van Orden and Michael Roderick do. And we just really hit it off in one of those little breakout room sessions. She is a serial entrepreneur and a conscious explorer with a passion for life. And after decades as a leader in global enterprise, Hollywood entertainment, and Silicon Valley startups, she's starting to be your kind of girl, isn't she, Michelle?
Right.
Yeah. So after doing all that fun stuff, Monica launched into hospitality with Tavola Fiji, a luxe private villa, an inspiring venue for executives and visionaries. She is also the creator of quantum surfing, which is a method for success that teaches leaders, entrepreneurs, and innovators to combine neuroscience, applied enlightenment, and quantum mechanics to predictably create lucky outcomes and accelerate venture impact. And I am like, that is so, like, I'm tingly. Are you tingly? I'm like so tingly about it. Like, what? I've never heard anybody that does anything that's quite that amazing and cool. And Monica, Michelle has a background in all that stuff. So you guys are going to hit it off really, really well. So welcome to Bad Girls on Business.
Well, thank you so very much. It is an absolute delight to be with you, Virginia and Michelle. And when we had an opportunity to meet up in a networking group, as soon as I found myself in a breakout room with you, it's like, oh, I would love to spend more time with these women. So thank you so much for the invitation to join you today.
We're super excited to have you. So, Monica, just talk a little bit about your entrepreneurial journey. It sounds like, Michelle, today seems to be like corporate to entrepreneurial hustle, right? Like everything we've done today is kind of talking about that trajectory. So it sounds like you're fitting right into the flame there. So tell us a little bit about your journey from corporate exec to entrepreneur.
Yeah. My undergraduate degree was in computer science. So I was always in technology. And early on, I did global consulting, and I returned to UCLA for business school, where I focused on entertainment and business strategy. So after business school, I first joined the Walt Disney Company, and then I had an opportunity to work for George Lucas. So I moved to the Silicon Valley area and worked at Skywalker Ranch until the internet really started taking off, kind of Web 1.0. And so I thought, well, this would be awesome to start combining my backgrounds in technology and entertainment. And so I jumped to internet startups, and I really found my love in that environment. It's just so juicy to be with visionary, creative people who are imagining a world that doesn't exist yet. And then together bringing that to life and creating it. So that was really sealed my fate as an entrepreneur. And over the years, I started to launch more and more ventures myself. And that passion for creating ventures of impact, and having adventures finally took me to the Fiji Islands, where I then added global entrepreneur to my list. And I started a business there and a boutique resort and hospitality venture. So it's been a phenomenal ride, and I feel privileged to have been able to experience all of it.
That is super exciting. And I find it kind of funny, hilarious that now, 20 years, some odd years, I'm assuming later, that we're still trying to convince people that this internet thing is here to stay and you probably want to be able to do some digital marketing with it.
Right, exactly. It's funny that way, for sure.
Monica, I want to go ahead. I'm sorry, Michelle, go.
No, go ahead.
What's coming up for me right now is a conversation around courage. Because it, all of that, like, when you read it in a bio, it's like, oh, la, 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 I worked at Disney and then I did this and then I did that, la, 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 la. And we know it ain't like that. It's, like, you're like, shoot, there's a fork in the road. I have to make a choice. I have to leave this behind. I have to move forward. So the conversation I want to have is about courage. And Michelle, I'm sorry I interrupted you.
No worries.
Courage is such an interesting thing to me, because of course it's those leaps from one opportunity to the next. It's the fact that each time you're trusting and banking on yourself, and your ability to kind of learn on the fly when something is completely new for you. And then being in Fiji also taught me a whole nother level of courage. I have been in the eye of 2 Category 5 cyclones.
What?
And the first one.
Oh, okay, we got to talk about that.
The first one was the largest superstorm to hit the South Pacific, called Cyclone Winston, in 2016. So that's where I got my training, how to survive a cyclone. And then during the pandemic, I was locked in Fiji. And I was at my resort without any guests, because we had no guests coming and going. And I had said my one worry was surviving a cyclone under those circumstances and having to face it alone. And what do you know? Another Cat 5 cyclone right over my house in Fiji in December of 2020. So that's a whole other level of courage.
Yeah. No, I'm kidding. So for those who don't know what the difference between a cyclone is and a hurricane, let's start with that one, because I think they're kind of fun.
Well, there's so many words for these types of storms: cyclone, hurricane, monsoon, and they tend to vary based on the place in the world. So in the South Pacific, we call these storms, which are becoming superstorms as a result of our climate change, we call them cyclones.
Awesome. And was it different going through it alone? Obviously it was, but to what extent was it different going through it alone the second time than it was maybe having the community and the preparation and some other things on your side?
It was really tiring. There's so much to do before a cyclone comes in. It's not like an earthquake where suddenly it's just struck and you had no time to prepare. You have time to prepare. But it's also the preparation is so interesting in a remote area. Mm-hmm. And by the time the cyclone is arriving, I put on what I call my cyclone gear, which consists of a bicycle helmet in case I have to change locations during that cyclone, so that no branches hit me, a life preserver, not to swim and survive, but to use as a flak jacket, and a cane knife to be able to cut my way free of anything that might be in the way. So the preparation is time compressed, it's exhausting. And then when the storm finally arrives, you still have to be in that mode of, am I safe in this place that I've chosen? What's the situation? Do I need to shift my location, and so forth? So it's a long time without a lot of sleep, for sure.
And in a weird sort of way, Can you relate that to business in any way? Because as you're explaining that, I'm thinking, yeah, that sounds exactly like going into business.
That's exactly right. And that's why I bring it up as a form of courage, because I would not have anticipated that it was related. But I have had more of that boss energy as
Mhm.
a result of having to be so completely independent and self-managed in those moments where the only one around to rely on was me.
What I think is really is curious about that, and I'm imagining I was in the great earthquake 1986 in Mexico City. So I've been,
Oh,
yeah.
wow.
Not that I knew that I was actually in an earthquake. I was going to the bathroom. Like I was literally sitting on the toilet and the world was shaking. And I was just like, I had no concept that that's like the ladies are all in the doorway. Oh, senor, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, what the hell is wrong with these women? And why do I feel so drunk? I can't walk straight. So yeah, but the notion of if you've survived a category 5 cyclone by yourself, you pretty much don't have a lot of fear about much else, do you? Like, oh, what if this business fails? You're like, I, I like cut
Does
myself
give
out of a
perspective.
category 5 cyclone. Not hard, you know?
Yeah, it does give perspective, undoubtedly. I've also found, having lived through a couple of those now, that there's always something wonderful happening. Always. Um, and you can't even anticipate what it is. I remember just a few days before that cyclone hit in December of 2020, I had been standing on our decks looking out over our beautiful infinity pool. And I was lamenting the fact that the trees had grown so tall that they were blocking the view a little bit. And so I thought, well, I'd love to get that view back. And of course, those trees are stories tall. So there's no way that that's going to happen until a cyclone comes through. And suddenly all the trees are, perfectly manicured and trimmed, and I have the gorgeous view right back.
Thank you, Mother
You
Nature.
gotta watch. So you gotta watch what you wish for. So Monica, that is a
Right?
great segue. Let's go ahead and segue, because your thing, like that thing you do, is all about manifesting through your thoughts and your choices and your attitude, like all of that, right? And Susan Jeffers wrote a book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. And she says that our greatest fear isn't that we will fail, it's that we're not enough
Oh,
to meet the
interesting.
rising challenges, right? So
Yeah.
fear that we're not enough to meet the challenges ahead, and therefore we stay small and we don't manifest, be out of the fear that it, like, what if we manifested our biggest wildest dreams, then all that voice is like, who are you, why would you, can you, right? So I'm really curious about the whole quantum surfing thing. So perfect for Fiji, right? The whole quantum thing, and that sparkle that you are focused on manifesting.
Well, thank you. Sparkle is one of my most favorite words.
I know you used it like 4 times in the package that you sent over.
There you go.
I'm observant like that. I didn't like make that shit up. I just, I observed.
Clearly. I would kind of expand on that notion of facing your fear and manifesting. I find that what we often don't want to relinquish is our sense of control. So we have this idea of what we want and where we want to go, and then we want to feel comfortable going there. And we want to feel that it's predictable and that we're doing that. So we set plans, we execute on the plans. But when we're able to exist in that balance, and I would say it's a lot like surfing in the sense that you're going to balance on that board, you don't have control over that wave. What you have is your skill and your ability to be in balance when there is no such thing as control. And that I find is a key ingredient for having epic adventures and phenomenal outcomes that match your dreams.
again, this is like such a conversation for me, right? Because I'm at a time in my life where the epic adventures and phenomenal outcomes are something that I feel so utterly capable of. It really happened crossing over the threshold of menopause, and really what I call the stage of the woman in her third moon, right? Like it's this brilliant time of maximum creativity where you stand on the threshold of a choice of playing the role of Mrs. Beasley and like sitting on the front porch and cleaning the house, making the garden, tending the chickens, like doing that kind of role, being the grandma, or going out there and being, I do not know that woman's name, but do you know the woman? She shows up in pictures a lot on Instagram and stuff. She's an older woman and she's like got baubles and funky hair and big like weird glasses, and she's just a picture of like, look at me, I'm so badass, I'm doing my thing, and there's this tension between that that I'm looking at, that I'm super curious about how you help people make those decisions, make the decision in favor of the epic adventure, make the decision in favor of the epic, phenomenal, impacting outcomes.
I start by teaching people how to be lucky, because being lucky is fun. And it gets us into a mode of being that is unlike our typical model of success, which is all about setting goals and planning and execution and using resources wisely and being able to establish access to additional resources. And that's a model that I would call paddling. It's effective. You can get from A to B, and you're going to spend a lot of your own energy pushing that board along through the water. To get up on a wave, however, to stand up on that board, the fastest way that I have found is to learn to be lucky. And there's an article that really fascinated me maybe 15 years ago that got me thinking about this concept of whether or not it's possible to be predictably lucky. And come to find out, that's actually a thing. And that what makes us lucky is whether or not we're engaged in lucky behaviors. And there are 4 lucky behaviors: curiosity, intuition, resilience, and positive expectations. And then, because I do love that sparkle, I put in playfulness as the accelerator, which is a beautiful energy that connects us to people much more easily than any other energy that I've seen. So that being lucky is a way to start to shift into this different way of being.
Do you find, what is it? I think it was Mark Twain said, the harder I work, the luckier I get, right? Like that sort of thing. And that's not what you're talking about, right? It sounds to me that what you're talking about is a mindset to being present in the moment. And gosh, Michelle, it's like this is like a barrel of monkeys day for interviews, because I feel like it has to do with what Iselene was talking about, like just take the next step. Like, yes, know where you're going, but if you plot out, like, I want to go to Disney, so you plot everything out. If you get to the airport and your flight is canceled, is the entire Disney vacation going down in flames? Or are you just going to solve the shit? My flight is canceled. Find a way to get to Disney, right? Like, and so at each step, nothing's going to go perfectly all the way, but the adventure and the epic is, when things don't go as planned, is what can I do with that? And how do I move forward?
There's also something else there in those moments, which is the joy of that journey. Is so often we're very focused on the end goal, and we don't realize that the journey itself can kind of shape how the end goal is happening, and meaning it can even amplify it and have it be greater than we ever anticipated. And I learned that early on from my uncle, who also did business in Fiji until he passed. And he ran a luxury resort there. And one of the evenings was a mountaintop dinner. And he would have all of his guests, rather well-heeled, affluent guests, hike to the mountaintop dinner. And there was always a conversation every week about, gee, boss, we think that we should have golf carts and that we should drive our guests up the mountain. And my uncle would say, no, because all the memories happen on the journey, all the connections, all the stories. So if you show up at the airport and that flight to Disney is canceled, the question that I like to ask is, oh, what epic journey is going to happen that's going to get me to Disney this time? Because there's going to be so much fun once you open your eyes to the fact that maybe this isn't the itinerary you thought you booked, but there's an itinerary here that you're going to experience. And if you're looking out for it, it can be a really good time.
That sounds so cute. I wonder how many people have gone through kind of the holiday that didn't happen the way they thought it would and then wrote it out, kind of like the help me out, Virginia. All that's coming to mind is the Addams Family, and that's not it. When they went to Wally World and the holiday didn't happen, so then you make a movie out of it.
Oh yeah, I don't remember that. Christmas is I don't know.
You know the ones I'm talking about
with that actor.
That guy.
With that actor. Yeah. Actor,
but I think it's fun though to be able
to
go through and go, what were the epic moments of this, even though it wasn't the holiday that we thought it was, even though it wasn't the thing that we thought it was going to be, even though buying that cottage by the lake wasn't, the experience that I thought it was going to be. But what was that journey and how did it, what were the epic moments in there? Because I find a lot of people, the epic moments are almost more acute in the way it happened than they would have been if it had happened the way they wanted it to.
I definitely found that when I bought this boutique resort in Fiji.
Mm-hmm.
And it was not what I thought I had bought. When I arrived there, I would turn the water on in the morning to take a shower and there was no water. I was like, why is there no water? Oh yeah, boss, there's no water sometimes. It's just the way it is, I had a beautiful backup generator that didn't work, and on and on and on. The first time I decided to put internet in place, the telecom company delivered a spool of cable directly off a shipping container so that I could install it myself for internet service. Like, these are the kinds of things that were happening in those early days. And it was nothing like I thought. And yet beautiful people showed up. We put on tunes. We laughed at the predicament and the situation. And now my most favorite memories of those early days are all about the mishaps and the craziness, taking a giant leap and going, oh, maybe this one was a bit more of a leap than I should have taken. But you learn that you do have that parachute that you can let out and you're going to land. It's going to be okay.
I really find, and this is true, it's true in my personal life and it's also true in business. Like, some of the craziest moments, like in Czechoslovakia, when we got on the tram, but we didn't have any credit cards that were those tappy ones, and we didn't have our Apple Pay set up, so we couldn't tappy tap on the tram. So we got off the tram, but we got caught by the transit police, who really are only authorized to collect the payment from the tram. But they saw us that we were Americans and they were like, give us your passport. And I was like, take me to my embassy. It was this whole funny thing. And there's this whole story around it that's probably the funniest story of all of the stories, and how we had to, walk 13 miles back because we had no money, because they shook us down for every dollar we had. And my mother-in-law, who speaks no English, was like, oh, aquí está mi pasaporte. And I'm like, be gone, weird Mexican woman that I don't know, because I didn't want her involved in all, right? So, but it's hilarious now. It was annoying as flip when we were there, right? And my daughter just kept saying, every time something would go wrong, she would take a breath and she would say, we're making a memory. We're making a memory. Yes. Like, what is the memory? And so, we're at the top of this mountain at this castle with this cathedral. She's like, we're here to see the stuff that's here, and we're here. So let's go see the stuff, and then let's see what unfolds, right? And see, who knows, maybe a Samaritan will give us a ride. Maybe someone will give us some money. Maybe we'll find money on the floor. Like, just go see the stuff, right? And so then we ended up walking all the way back to the hotel, and it was great. Like, I'm with my 80-year-old mother-in-law, and yet we walked 13 miles. She slept really well that night, right? Like, it's a whole story.
You have a very wise daughter,
and it's like
too.
that for she is really, really, really smart, really smart. So it's
Good
pretty,
job,
yeah, it's pretty good. And, business is the same way. So I've been trying different ways to market my business. I know what works. Like, I can do $250,000 by referral in my sleep. But I'm like, hey, what other ways are there to build a business? So I'm trying on all these ways, finding out that I really like my way a lot, but learning a lot in the process, right? Making friends along the way. Like, I would not be, if I weren't choosing to build my business online by joint venture, I wouldn't have been at the Gems and I wouldn't have seen you, right? Like, so there's all these things that come out of our circumstances when we just look. So how do you lead a business owner through this quantum process?
Yeah, at this point, I've put together 3 courses, Quantum Surfing 1, 2, and 3. The first course is about getting up on the board and learning to be lucky. It's 6 weeks of sessions. And then the second course, another 6 weeks, is balancing on the board, which is really about surf fitness for surfing quantum waves. And then finally, surfing to your target, which is the final course. And it's a combination of applied enlightenment and quantum mechanics and neuroscience. So it's a different way of thinking and being. I stumbled upon a lot of these concepts, decade ago and more, and really from spiritual exploration. And I started experimenting with what worked, what didn't. For things that worked, why did they work consistently? How could you make them work consistently? And then if I stumbled on something that could work consistently, I was like, now I need to understand why that's true. And so then I would dive into the neuroscience, I'd dive into the quantum mechanics. So it's quantum surfing is a different way of understanding how our reality works. And the reason that that's important is because for the neuroscience of the brain, and Michelle, I'm probably saying something that's like completely obvious to you. The brain uses your beliefs to decode the signals that it receives in the environment. And so if your beliefs aren't consistent with quantum reality, then the way that you decode the signals is more aligned with kind of the cultural narratives that we've all been raised with that are not connected to quantum reality and are thus outdated, that those narratives represent a different understanding of how the world works. And probably the easiest way to make this comparison of the difference is that in a quantum world, your energy matters. And that's not something we're really taught when we're taught how to be successful in all of our educational institutions. We're not taught about the importance of our energy, the importance of what we believe, the importance of, therefore, stemming from our beliefs, what we think, which then becomes how we behave. It then becomes even how we feel. So it's like this cycle. And if you stay in your current beliefs, then you will always decode and understand your reality based on the beliefs that you're holding. So the quantum surfing courses shift that over time.
Isn't that a real challenge? This is such an interesting conversation. I think it's the challenge is the programming, man. Like escaping what is common and what we are, what we've been taught to do. And especially it's a little easier right now. Like, my daughters are way less bound by, like, from the minute they hit school, they were like, this is crap. Like, this does not create joy in my world. This is bullshit. Like, literally their mantra has been like, and so when my youngest daughter said, you can send me to college, like, you can force me to go to college, but you can't force me to pass. I'm going to be a dog groomer. I was like, your daddy has 2 master's degrees and I have a master's degree and a PhD. Oh, you're going to college. And she's like I said, if you want to waste your money, have at it. Really, what would be better is if you would invest in me and we opened a dog grooming business together. That would make more sense to me than you like wasting $100,000 and sending me to college, because that's bullshit. And both of my girls get it. And it took me listening to them for me to go like, oh my God, it is, right? Like it really is. It's just like wake up, work, buy stuff you don't need that creates more work, then watch some TV while you're, to escape the ennui of it all, and then go to bed exhausted and try to sleep. Take some Ambien, have some nightmares, wake up in the morning, go to work. But, like, wow, that's true. It's like this drone cycle. Do you find when people come to you that they're sort of stuck in that place, and when you open them up, they're like,
yes,
whoa.
that's what our culture is all about. It's that set of beliefs about what's necessary to be successful. It's I need a master's degree. I need another master's degree. I need to have all the boxes ticked on my resume so that I'm ready to be competitive for that next position. And so forth. It just keeps going. And so we put what could be really enlightening and joy-filled experiences like being educated into service of this pursuit of a path for success. And instead, when we start to become more open to what our heart and intuition and knowingness is really telling us, one of the things that we start to see is that learning is lifelong. Learning is a sense of curiosity rather than a tick the box for the resume. And to be creative and entrepreneurial and resilient throughout your life, to become a lifelong learner rather than simply the one who's holding degrees, is more likely to serve you over that long arc. So curiosity is one of the first lucky behaviors. And, being open to what it is that really makes you shine, that really captures your attention, is one of the fastest ways to honoring who you really are and to laying the seeds for your true success.
I don't know, Michelle, this is super fascinating and I could just do this all day. But Monica, how can people get in touch with you? Like to learn more about what you're up to discover more about, I want to have a conversation later about what is applied enlightenment. Like, I've never heard of that in my life. I want to know, but we don't have time. So, where can we find out more? Where can we consume more of this juiciness?
Well, you can find me on quantumsurfing.com. You can also find me at monicalaurence.com. That's Laurence spelled with a U, Laurence. And on the term applied enlightenment, yes, you've not heard it before because that's what I call it. It's for me as an entrepreneur, as someone who's excited about creating in the world, I wanted to take all of these principles and really put them to work so that you can express your dreams with the most impact possible in a way that's truly joyful for you. And so that's why I call it applied enlightenment. Like, let's get down to it. Let's actually take these ideas and make them work.
Awesome. All right. So Michelle, you've got our naughty questions for Monica. So they're tame, Monica. But
they are rapid fire.
They're sort of naughty. They're sort of naughty, but not too bad.
Go.
Feel free to ask questions. So when it comes to your marketing, Monica, do you prefer domination or seduction?
Ooh, seduction.
When it comes to networking, would you say you're more an exhibitionist or a voyeur?
Oh, those are two intriguing options. I've never thought about being either one of those.
So when you go into a networking event, is it like, hey, here I am, the moment you've been waiting for is here? Or do you prefer to walk around the room and watch what's going on and see who's connecting with who and who's holding hands with who and all that kind of fun jazz?
Yeah, I really like the authentic connections. So when I walk into a room like that, it's not the exhibitionist energy, but it's more about, really trusting that I'm going to meet, a few key people there that could become friends for life, and that maybe we'll even, put together something in business together. So maybe more of the voyeur energy, but I'm always looking for the connection, like the friendly face, the person that I'm like, I want to spend time with this person.
Nice. When it comes to leadership, would you describe yourself more as a lady dom or as a power sub?
I don't
I
know
was
if I
going to
can
say, and
answer
feel
this
free to
one
ask
either.
questions.
Clarification, please.
Yeah, so here's the context. So in BDSM, all right, there are two roles. The first role is the role of the sub is to set boundaries and to say, like, this is acceptable, this is not acceptable. And then the dom's role is to create an experience inside the boundaries, right? So the question is, do you want to create the experience for your business, or do you want to set the boundaries and let your business create this experience
I
for
create
you?
the experience of the business.
So that's Lady Dom.
She's very
There you
adamant
go.
about that
Thank
too.
you
There was
for that clarification. Super helpful, Virginia.
Yeah. You got to listen to Paulina
I'd love
Tanner's
to,
episode. Yeah, she's the reason we have the
Okay.
question, right? She says she's a business submissive, right? Like, she wants to set the parameters, set the boundaries, set all of that in motion, like put that in place, and then let her employees, let her team, let the business create the experience that she wants inside the boundaries, so she can go do other fun stuff, like be a shibari model.
Nice. I will definitely listen to that episode.
she's awesome.
Yeah, it's
When it
fascinating.
comes to team, do you prefer to be married or have mistresses? Awesome. And when it comes to entrepreneurship, are you more into monogamy or polyamory? Nice.
Polyamory.
You have survived and
So
done
much
well.
fun. All right. Survive the naughty questions without even using
That's
the safe
impressive.
word, right?
Mm.
Although I have to tell you, Michelle, Scott Conway says we really need to have a backup safe word that is safe word, because safe word is easy to remember and people are likely to forget meatloaf. I was like, okay, all right, well, because I don't know, because he would know. All right, moving right along. Anyway, so Monica, thank you so much for just sharing your wisdom and your brilliance with us today. I look forward to many more conversations with you about the cool things that you are up to in the world. And listener, if you have not headed out to badgirlsonbusiness.com, that is where you want to head. It's where you want to go. You'll get to see the beautiful website that Michelle has cooked up for us. And that's also where you'll be able to find some Easter eggs that have some little gifts attached to it. And, that's where our guests' information is going to be, show notes, all that kind of fun stuff. So, subscribe, rate, review. We want to hear from you, and make sure that you connect also with Monica Laurence at quantumsurfing.com. Monica, thanks so much for being an amazing guest. Michelle,
Thank you,
thanks for
Monica.
being such a wonderful co-host.
So special to spend this time with both of you. Thank you for the invitation, Michelle and Virginia. And like you said, I am so looking forward to more time together. So first of many.
All right. So don't forget, stay tuned for another badass episode of Bad Girls on Business, because it's coming your way.
Thank you for listening to the Bad Girls on Business podcast. Don't forget to check the show notes for any links mentioned in this episode and for additional contact information about the guest or our hostesses. If this show got you going, we'd love to hear about it when you subscribe, rate, and review the show on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts. Can't get enough of the direct sales dom, the referral diva, or your mistress in business? The Bad Girls have hidden their gift for you at badgirlsonbusiness.com. When you find the Easter egg, use the password BGOB to unlock your treasure chest of goodies.